What if Deku becomes Pokémon Master? Hey everyone, welcome back to Nothing But Anime. I'm thrilled to launch a brand new series here on the channel. What if Deku became Pokémon Master? If you're as excited as I am, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss an epic moment. Alright, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into the fifth part of the series. So that's Trapinch, Achiko said, as she inspected Izuku's new Pokémon. Pinch. Trapinch glared at Achiko wearily, ready to bite if Achiko made a wrong move. It's pretty cute. Achiko smiled at it. Trapinch. Trapinch seemed to have taken offense to that. I think they'd prefer to be called fierce rather than cute, Izuku guessed. Pinch. Trapinch nodded in agreement. The two of them were currently in Izuku's room at the Pokémon Center. After finally meeting back up. After Izuku returned Trapinch, he spoke. She's not all too strong at the moment. She only knows bite, mud slap, and dig. But I'll change that. Before she knows it, she'll be stronger than ever. I can't wait to see it. Hey, is Flygon a flying type? Maybe I'll get one. Achiko asked him. Izuku shook his head. They can fly, but Flygon are exclusively ground and dragon type. Although a lot of people get confused by the name. Darn, Achiko pouted. So, how did your gym battle go? Izuku asked her, only to frown when he saw her get more upset. I lost, Achiko sighed. I tried using luck to win the battle, but it blew up in my face near the end. Izuku cringed. Sorry about that, but maybe you should switch to a more reliable strategy. I doubt there's much I could do, Achiko said, looking downtrodden. His first Pokémon resists or is immune to all my moves, and I don't have anything that's super effective on either of them. And they are super fast and strong, and he has a super effective move against Togepi. And Togepi's not all that good at single battles yet. Pi, Togepi said sadly. At this rate, I won't get past the first gym without training both of them up for a month. Achiko sat on the bed, looking down at the floor. And I don't want you to have to stay here and waste all that time because of me. Izuku wanted to tell her that he would gladly wait for her after she helped him climb that mountain. But he's known her for long enough to know that wouldn't help her. He shouldn't placate her, but rather, give her a solution. And after thinking for a moment, he found one. Well, there aren't a lot of flying-type Pokémon in the desert, but there is one notable Pokémon in there that evolves into a flying type. Its name is Bagon. Suddenly, there was a spark in Achiko's eyes and her whole face lit up with excitement. Wait, Bagon, as in the Pokémon that evolves into Salamence. One of the strongest flying-type Pokémon. Yup, Izuku was happy that she seemed to have cheered up. Although, it'll be really hard to find. Even harder than a Trapinch, pretty much every flying-type specialist, a lot of dragon-type specialists, and even a good amount of non-type specialists want to get their hands on a Salamence, not to mention Pokémon collectors and poachers. They're not endangered, but they are very rare and hard to find. So it might take me a while to find one, Achiko said, thinking about it for a moment, before getting a determined look on her face. Doesn't matter. I'll search that whole desert if I have to. I'm gonna catch me a Bagon. That's the spirit, Izuku told her. I'll help too. You really don't need to. You've already done plenty for me, Achiko reminded him. Wouldn't you rather take on the gym? Izuku shook his head. I can wait. And honestly, I kinda want you to be there when I beat the gym leader. Is that too vain or egotistical? Achiko giggled. No, you're fine. I'm sure you'll sweep that gym leader off their feet. Izuku smiled at the positive reinforcement, something he hadn't received much of. Thank you. I'm sure you'll beat the gym leader too next time, with a Bagon on my side. Absolutely. Achiko had a fire in her eyes that Izuku couldn't help but admire. It was then he knew they were both going to be the best trainers out there. Where is that darn Bagon? Achiko shouted into the desert, as the two of them looked through it for the dragon-type Pokémon. They had been looking for 2 days now in the blazing heat. It was safe to say Achiko was as annoyed as she was covered in sweat. Are you sure there's a Bagon in this desert? Achiko asked, a bit more aggressively than she would have liked. Oh, of course. Izuku flinched at how upset she was. I checked multiple sources, and they all said that you can find Bagon in this desert. Achiko sighed, as she tried to fan herself. Well, aside from getting attacked by a powerful wild Pokémon, at least this can't get any worse. And then, a flash sandstorm occurred. I had to open my big fat mouth paw. Achiko had to close her mouth to keep sand from getting in, and both of them and to shield their faces from the sand. It was hard to see, but Izuku barely managed to spot a cave nearby. Hey, I see a cave. Let's head over there, Izuku shouted, making sure to try and keep sand from getting in his mouth. Quickly, the two ran to the aforementioned cave, which protected them from the sandstorm's wrath. Achiko sat down on the stone floor and started getting the sand out of her clothes. I hate sand. It's coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere. Well, you're a flying type trainer, so I guess it makes sense, Izuku said, before giving her a remorseful look. I'm sorry things aren't really working out all that well, Achiko sighed. You don't have to say that. If anything, I should apologize for you spending time with me when I'm all snappy. Heh, trust me, I've spent time with much angrier, much snappier people, Izuku said, as he recalled a certain blonde. Achiko looked outside and saw the sandstorm was still raging. It looks like this could go on for a while. Yeah, and the cave isn't really deep enough to explore, Izuku said, looking at the end of the cave. So, what should we do? Well, we could talk. We're traveling companions, but we don't know too much about each other, Achiko pointed out. I guess that's true, Izuku said, before thinking of what to say. So, I grew up in a small town. Actually, it was the town just off Route 1. I wasn't particularly popular. I was a complete nerd and everyone knew it. I probably would have been fine, but I was always different from other kids when it came to my taste of Pokémon. Different how? Achiko asked. I was just different, Izuku shrugged. Other kids liked Charmander, I liked Bulbasaur. Other people liked Pikachu. I preferred Mimikyu. Other people preferred Garchomp. I liked Flygon. So I got the reputation of that weird, nerdy kid that likes lame Pokémon. I tried to tell them that I love all Pokémon, but the reputation stuck and I didn't really make friends after that. Wow, kids suck. Achiko gave him a sympathetic look. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. But you have me now, and honestly, I'd pick Mimikyu over Pikachu any day. There's just something about it that makes me want to hug him. I know, right? They just want some love from people. It's so sad. Izuku's smile returned. The two laughed for a few moments before getting back to the conversation. Well, I grew up in a lean town. It's also a small town down south, Achiko explained. My family was a construction company which worked with our town and some of the nearby towns and cities, but then a bigger company from the Unova region came into a nearby city and, well, they had more money and a lot of Unova Pokémon. And the Pokémon found in the Unova region are really good at construction, Izuku said, finishing her thought. I'm sorry, that must have been rough. It was, Achiko sighed, pouting again. After that, the only business we got was from the most loyal customers in our town. But like I said, it was a small town. They didn't build much or break much, so while we were always the ones they called when they needed construction, they didn't really need construction all that much. After that, my parents really had to worry about how much money they spent and things got really, well, rough. So that's why you want to become a gym leader, Izuku said. Achiko nodded. Gym leaders are so respected. They're practically the mayors of whatever town or city they're in. As a gym leader, not only could I work to support my family, I could also convince the town to start expanding out. And if the town starts getting bigger, that means more construction, and then my parents will have plenty of work to keep themselves afloat until their retirement. Wow, that's actually really smart, Izuku said. I know, right? It's such a good plan that I'm surprised that me of all people came up with it. Achiko laughed a bit. But that still requires me to get strong enough to be picked by the champion to become a gym leader. And at this rate, the two went silent for a few moments. Izuku thinking of something before he spoke up. Uraraka. Izuku had a serious tone and blazing fire in his eyes that took Achiko off guard. I know I said you don't owe me anything, but I want you to make me a promise. A promise? Achiko repeated curiously, wondering where he was going with this. That's right. I want you to promise me that when we get to the Pokémon League tournament, you and me will battle, Izuku explained with ironclad determination. That means you can't lose to anyone in that tournament until then. That's a big promise, Achiko told him, a little taken aback by this sudden request. I am not sure if I can dash. You want to become a gym leader, right? Izuku asked her, getting a nod from his friend after a few moments. Well, I'm going to become the champion, and don't think I'm going to hand over the position of gym leader to you just because you're my friend. That's a position you have to earn. And if I'm going to be sure that you're the right person for that job, then I need you to at least make it that far. Achiko took a second to take all this in, before looking at the determination in Izuku's eyes once more. It was a sight to behold, and in that moment he looked like nothing would stop him, and she believed that. After a few moments, Achiko looked up, returning Izuku's determined glare with one of her own. I promise to help my family and to achieve my dream. I won't lose to anyone at that tournament, not until I battle you. After staring at each other for a few moments, the determined looks melted off their faces and formed into smiles of renewed vigor. And then, suddenly something came into the cave. Gone. Izuku and Achiko froze for a second, before quickly turning their heads to see that a Bagon had waddled into the cave, seemingly also to take cover from the sandstorm. Oh my god, finally! Achiko immediately stood up and took out a Pokeball. Alright, Pidove, let's go. Dove. Pidove came out, and as it flew up, she bumped her head on the ceiling. Dove. Pidove. Pidove turned to their trainer and gave them an annoyed glare, clearly not happy to be in a cave. Sorry, Pidove, but the sooner we catch Bagon, the sooner we can leave, Ochako told her Pokemon. Dove, Pidove hugged, before turning back towards Bagon. Bagon, who was now very aware of the two trainers in front of him, turned and looked at the sandstorm, and knew they were trapped between a rock and a hard place. It was either fight the Pidove or go out into the sandstorm and possibly fall to hands-go-ground type predators. Bagon turned around and gave Pidove a menacing glare. Gone. Bagon shot out an ember attack at Pidove. Dodge it and then use swagger, Ochako ordered. Pie. Pidove did a mid-air roll to dodge the ember, before raising her beak up arrogantly, causing Bagon's attack to go up, and for them to become confused. Bag. Bagon waddled around while confused before their heads started glowing white as they activated Headbutt. Gone. Bagon then headbutt the wall, not only doing a good chunk of damage to themselves but also getting their heads stuck in the wall. Alright, now's my chance. Ochako took out a Pokeball. You're mine. Uraraka threw the Pokeball at Bagon, which overtook Bagon, and captured them inside it. BRUP. 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 Ding. Alright, Ochako cheered, as she picked up her new Pokemon in the Pokeball. I caught a Bagon. Congratulations. Izuku cheered Ochako on. I'm happy we finally found it. Finally. Ochako fell on her knees, crying actual tears of joy. We don't have to keep looking in this Arceus-forsaken desert. Yup. Now, all we have to do is wait for the sandstorm to subside, Izuku said, looking at the raging storm outside. So, do you want to keep talking until then? Yeah, sounds good, Ochako told him. So, Snivy or Oshawott? Izuku asked her. Oh, Oshawott all the way, Ochako answered. They're super cute, and Snivy are all just way too smug. After about an hour of chatting, the storm subsided, and the two of them eventually left the cave. It was now nighttime. The stars shone brightly in the sky, as the moon gleamed down from above. About time, Ochako said, as the two of them finally exited the cave, now much happier than before. Wow, the desert looks much prettier at night. Look up. Look at the stars. This is the best view I've gotten of them since I left my hometown. Izuku looked up. Yeah, they are really pretty. It's a bit cold though. Better than the blazing heat, Ochako said. Honestly, I don't understand how people enjoy heat like that. Well, Izuku's mind went back to a certain someone. I know someone who loves the heat. He's a fire-type specialist. I wonder how he's doing. I thought you said you didn't have any friends? Ochako said. Well, calling him a friend is kind of a stretch, Izuku said. He's kind of DKU. Oh, Izuku cringed. Speaking of him, here he comes now. Up ahead, coming from Geonosis City, was Bakugo, marching at them with fury in his eyes. Once he got closer to them, Bakugo started yelling some more. Deku, why the hell are you here? Izuku tried to explain. Well, I was helping Uraraka dash. You know what, I don't give a shit. Bakugo interrupted him. Did you beat the fucking gym leader yet? No, I was gonna try and beat him tomorrow, Izuku said. PSH. Take a look at this. Bakugo pulled out his badge case and showed off his engine badge. I already whipped the floor with that loser. Eat it, Deku. Oh, that makes sense. Izuku seemed unaffected by Bakugo's gloating. He's a steel-type gym leader, and you're a fire-type specialist after all. I didn't beat him just because I had fire-types Deku. Bakugo shouted, aggressively getting in Izuku's face. I didn't say that, Izuku said defensively. I just said that it helped. I mean, unless you didn't use any fire-type moves, being a fire-type specialist definitely helped you. Bakugo paused for a moment, as he couldn't really argue against that. So he just backed up, and gave Izuku a glare. That's not the fucking point. The point is I've already kicked that gym leader's ass. And your worthless ass still doesn't have a single badge. Hey, back off. Ochako went in between the two of them, glaring intensely at Bakugo. The only reason he hasn't beaten the gym leader already is because he was helping me catch a Pokemon. Bakugo glared at Hao. Wow, you must be a real pathetic trainer, if you're weighing Deku down. That comment stuck something inside Izuku, and he felt a wave of deep anger. Alright, that's too far. Oh, and what the hell are you gonna do about it? Bakugo challenged. Izuku picked up his Pokeball and held it up at Bakugo. This, Bakugo Katsuki. I challenge you to a Pokemon battle. This, Bakugo Katsuki. I challenge you to a Pokemon battle, Izuku said, holding a Pokeball. Bakugo looked surprised for a moment, before smirking viciously and taking out a Pokeball of his own. I'm gonna fucking destroy you. The two got a good distance away, and Ochako stood next to Izuku before Bakugo released his Pokemon. Kick his ass, Chameleon, Bakugo shouted as he let out his starter. Charmeleon roared, letting out a jet of fire from their mouth as they came out. Whoa, You already got Charmander to evolve, Izuku said, looking at the evolved starter in amazement. That's so cool. Heh, Bakugo sneered caustically. Now send out your pathetic Pokemon. My team doesn't have any pathetic Pokemon, Izuku said, with a slight bit of confidence. But what it does have is the legendary Kubfu. Izuku released the small bear Pokemon. Fu! Kubfu got out and immediately got into a fighting stance. Kubfu? What the hell is that? Bakugo knew almost every Pokemon there was, so to see one that he was unaware of, it pissed him off. Immediately, Bakugo took out his Pokédex and scanned the Pokemon. Kubfu, the Wushu Pokemon, the Pokédex said. Note, this is listed as a legendary Pokemon. What the actual fuck? Bakugo shouted, so loudly that everyone, even the Pokemon, flinched. How in the fucking hell did shitty Deku get his hand on fucking legendary? Is this shit broken or something? There is no way that pathetic Pokemon is a fucking legendary. Fu! Kubfu got upset at that comment, its fists tightening as it became eager to kick some butt. No, your Pokédex is fine, Achiko said with a smirk. But just in case, let's double check. Kubfu, the Wushu Pokemon, Achiko's Pokédex said as she held it up, so Bakugo could hear. Note, this is listed as a legendary Pokemon. Seems like it works, Achiko said. Smugly. Uraraka, please don't antagonize him, Izuku asked her. Grr. Bakugo was fucking fuming. He looked like he could actually explode at any minute. Hey, calm down, Kakin, Izuku said. Kubfu may be a legendary, but he doesn't have the typical power of a legendary until he evolves. Which is why me and him are gonna work our hardest to make that happen. Right, Kubfu? Kubfu nodded, not looking away from the opponent. So you somehow managed to catch a shitty legendary? Only you, Deku. Only you. Bakugo regained his savage smirk, as he belittled Izuku and his Pokemon. This was getting Izuku and Kubfu progressively angrier, and Izuku was about done with Bakugo right now. Kakin, are you just going to spit insults at me? Or are we going to have a Pokemon battle? Izuku said. That whipped the smirk right off Bakugo's face. Fine. Flamethrower. Melee. Chameleon charged up a powerful flame in its mouth, before releasing it in the form of a stream of flames, heading right towards Kubfu. Dodge it and use Aerial Ace, Izuku ordered. Fu! Kubfu ran at Charmeleon, jumping to the side of the flamethrower attack, as its arms glowed blue and its speed increased. Charmeleon kept trying to move the stream of flames to hit Kubfu, but the Pokemon kept ducking and dodging the attack, before jumping into the air. Kubfu quickly came down, smacking Charmeleon on the top of the head, shutting the mouth, before they kicked themselves off their opponent, flipping in the air and landing on their feet. TCH! Retaliate with Fire Fong! Bakugo shouted. Melion! Charmeleon recovered from the attack, and lunged forward and bit down on Kubfu's arm as its fangs were coated in searing flames. Fu! Kubfu cried out in pain. Dynamic Punch! Izuku shouted. Fu! Kubfu cocked back his other arm and prepared a devastating punch. Shit. Use Dragon Breath. Paralyze that fucker, Bakugo ordered. Charmeleon, while still having its teeth sunk into Kubfu's arm, started charging up a blue energy in its throat. Kubfu unleashed its attack at the same time Charmeleon did, causing a big explosion. Boom! Sand erupted up into the air, creating a cloud that obscured the trainer's vision of their Pokemon. Fu! Kubfu came barreling out of the cloud, thrown back by the force of the explosion. Kubfu, are you okay? Izuku asked with concern. Fu! Kubfu pulled himself to his feet. However, it stopped when suddenly electricity crackled around it. Fu! Oh no! Kubfu's paralyzed, Achiko shouted. Meanwhile, the cloud of sand subsided on Bakugo's end, allowing Bakugo to see its now injured and confused Charmeleon. Growling, snap the fuck out of it. What kind of dumbass gets confused by a punch? Bakugo shouted. Knock it off, and use Flamethrower on that pathetic Kubfu now. See Char? Char. Charmeleon seemingly took Bakugo's words to heart and shook its head to rid itself of the confusion, before unleashing a Flamethrower attack right at Kubfu. Dodge it, Kubfu, Izuku ordered. Kubfu was about to move to the side to dodge it, when suddenly its movement ceased, as the paralysis kicked in, causing the Flamethrower to hit. Kubfu! Kubfu! Izuku cried out in panic. When the attack ended, Kubfu was revealed to be very injured and covered in burn marks. Time to finish this. Flare Blitz! Bakugo shouted. Charmeleon covered themselves in a veil of flames and charged at Kubfu. Izuku grit his teeth. He wasn't sure that Kubfu could dodge this. Paralysis made you slower, as well as having the chance to keep you from moving altogether. Kubfu, use counter. Kubfu winced and got ready to use counter, but it didn't want to. Kubfu knew that it was unlikely to last long enough to hit back, but they didn't want to go down, not after all that smack Bakugo had talked earlier and all the damage he had done to it. He wanted to return that damage back to it. And so, with a newfound power, its fist glowed orange, and as Charmeleon came crashing into, Kubfu punched the fire-cloaked Pokémon, causing another explosion. Whoa, what was that move? Ochako asked as she shielded her eyes from the wind pressure created by the explosion. Reversal. It increases in power depending on how damaged the Pokémon using it is, Izuku explained. When the explosion died down and the dust settled, the two trainers could see that both their Pokémon had fainted. Oh, what fucking bullshit. Reversal? So you get your ass kicked and then you land one attack and that makes my Pokémon fucking faint. What bullshit? Bakugo shouted as he returned Chameleon. Don't get too fucking confident, Deku. Your legendary fainted, and your other pathetic Pokémon won't be able to touch the rest of my Pokémon. Izuku ignored him and returned Kubfu to his Pokeball. Thanks, Kubfu, at least you took out his starter. You can rest now. Growling. Come out, her Cyndaquil. Bakugo released his next Pokémon. Quill. Cyndaquil came out, fire erupting from their back, showing they were ready to fight. Let's go, Trapinch. Izuku sent out Trapinch for their first battle together. Pinch. Trapinch glared at its opponent, trying to intimidate its opponent. Alright, let's start with Mud Slap. Izuku shouted. Trap. Trapinch opened its mouth and spat out mud at Cyndaquil. Flame will through it, Bakugo ordered. Cyndaquil ran forward and rolled into a ball, with flames swirling around it, as it rolled through Trapinch's weak Mud Slap and smacked Trapinch in the face, increasing their speed. Pinch. Trapinch was knocked back on its side, and as it started to try and get up, Bakugo gave another command. Keep using Flame Wheel until it faints. Make sure to hit them from all angles. Don't let them predict where you're coming from, Bakugo shouted. Quill. Cyndaquil stayed in their flame ball and quickly moved around the arena, literally running circles around poor Trapinch before slamming into him. Pinch. 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 Trapinch was helpless against the much faster Pokémon, who only got faster after 3 more hits. Trapinch used Dig, Izuku ordered, hoping that Trapinch could get away from the super-fast Cyndaquil. But it was to no avail. The moment it tried to dig, Cyndaquil would smack into them, interrupting their attempts constantly. It wasn't too long until Cyndaquil gave Trapinch one last hit, knocking them over and causing them to faint. Ha! What did I tell you? Not a single hit. Bakugo gloated. That's exactly the type of pathetic Pokémon I'd expect from someone like you, Deku. Couldn't do a single thing. Grr. What a jerk, Ochako said. Izuku looked at Trapinch sadly. He knew they were weak, but he hoped that the type's effectiveness would at least let them get in a few hits. He was about to switch Trapinch out for Eevee, but then suddenly, Chespin's Pokeball started shaking. Ha! Izuku looked down at Chespin's ball, as it suddenly burst open and Chespin came out, hitting the ground before running over to Trapinch. Cheese! Chespin looked over Trapinch worriedly. T-Trap. Trapinch regained consciousness but was still far too injured to fight. Bakugo snorted. Looks like your loser Pokemon got worried about your other loser Pokemon. It's cute in a pathetic way. Weaklings stick together. Cheese! Chespin shouted aggressively at Bakugo, before standing in front of Trapinch, ready to fight. Chespin? Do you really want to fight Cyndaquil? Izuku asked nervously. Cyndaquil had a big advantage right now, being 4 times speed and having the type advantage. Chespin. Chespin gave Izuku a determined look that shut up any objections Izuku had. I see you really want to avenge Trapinch, huh? Izuku said, getting the message Chespin was trying to get across. Alright, let's go, Chespin. Pin. Chespin looked back at Cyndaquil, who was giving him a smug look in return. After Izuku brought Trapinch back into her Pokeball, the battle continued. Flame Wheel Barrage. Overwhelm them, Bakugo ordered. Quill. Cyndaquil once again rolled up and started spinning around Chespin at top speed, ready to attack. Not so fast. Chespin used Vine Whip to get into the air. Izuku ordered. Cheese. Chespin's vines came out, and he smacked them into the ground, launching himself into the air. Now rain down mud shots and leech seeds, Izuku ordered. Chess. Pin. 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 Chespin rapidly shot out Mud Blast and seeds down below, blasting the battlefield with attacks. Quill. Eventually one of these random blasts hit Cyndaquil, stopping its flame will charge, and lowering their speed by 1 stage before the seeds landed on them. Cheese. Chespin landed on the ground, smirking at his opponent. Happy to have landed a hit. TCH. Luck hit. Cyndaquil get back up and start flame wheeling again, Bakugo ordered. Quill. Cyndaquil did as instructed, using Flame Wheel once more and rolling around Chespin. Why would Kakin be doing the same thing twice when we just countered this? Izuku wondered. Chase Spin. Back into the air again. Chase Spin. Chase Spin used their vines to launch themselves into the air once more. Now, Ember. Shot that fucker down. Bakugo ordered. Quill. Cyndaquil uncurled from their ball and shot out a ball of fire at Chase Spin, who, because he was in midair, couldn't dodge it. Pin. Chase Spin shouted out in pain, as the attack exploded when it hit them, and knocked them out of the air. Now Flame Wheel Barrage. Bakugo ordered. Cyndaquil. Cyndaquil once again rolled up and started circling around Chase Spin. This time it actually started hitting him. Cheese. 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 Chase Spin cried out in pain, as Cyndaquil kept hitting them, over and over again with super effective attacks. This isn't good. They're too fast for us to just throw out an attack. Izuku thought before calming himself down and looking at the battle again. Alright, I have to find just the right moment to attack. He looked at Cyndaquil's attack pattern and noticed they were attacking in a pattern. Wherever Chase Spin was looking, Cyndaquil would attack from behind him about every 5 seconds. So all Izuku had to do was wait 1, 2, 3. Now Chase Spin would hammer behind you. Izuku ordered with perfect timing. Cheese. Chase Spin's arm glowed bright green, as it turned around, and swung the attack right into Cyndaquil, just as they came to attack them. Pin. Cyndaquil cried out in pain, as it was overpowered by the not very effective, but still much more powerful move, and slammed back to their side of the field. No matter how many obstacles you put in our way, that strategy won't work on us anymore. Izuku shouted. Pin. Chase Spin shouted in agreement. Don't get cocky, Deku. Bakugo shouted. Smoke screen. Cyndaquil opened their mouth, and a ball of black smoke formed before Cyndaquil spit out that black smoke at the ground near Chase Spin, covering the whole area, in a cloud of smoke. Now start flame wheeling. Bakugo ordered. Quill. Cyndaquil rolled back up into a ball and started rolling around inside the cloud. Chase Spin started looking around for Cyndaquil, but he couldn't see anything until he was hit in the face by Flame Wheel. Once again Chase Spin was being barraged by flame wheels, and now they couldn't even see their opponent. Damn it. We won't even be able to touch them like this. The only thing keeping Chase Spin up is the occasional health he gets from Leech Seed. Izuku thought. Damn it. What do I do? Wait. My battle with Kubfu. Izuku recalled back during Chase Spin's battle with Kubfu. Chase Spin lowered his speed significantly, and he thought that Kubfu wouldn't be able to touch him. And in particular, he recalled how Kubfu responded. Chase Spin. Use wood hammer on the ground. Izuku ordered. Cheese. Pin. Chase Spin slammed the ground with wood hammer at max power. This caused an explosion of sand and wind pressure that blew Cyndaquil away. Quill. Cyndaquil cried as it was swept away by the wave of sand. When the sand fell back down, and the wind subsided, both Pokémon were standing on opposite sides of the fields. But Chase Spin was wobbling, its eyes opening and closing, and their breathing was labored. They were about to faint. Ha! You really thought you could beat me with a grass-type Deku? Bakugo shouted. Wood hammer does recoil damage. Or did you forget? That combined with the fact that hit it with a dozen flame wheels. It's a wonder how that stupid thing is still standing. Come on, Chase Spin. Don't listen to him. Keep standing. Izuku called out. Chase Spin tried to stand their ground to keep themselves awake. But they were hurt so much. Black spots appeared in their vision. It wouldn't be long now. Suddenly, Izuku felt Trapinch's Pokeball start shaking. And this time, Trapinch broke out. Trap! Trapinch shouted at Chase Spin. Trapinch! Trap! See cheese! Chase Spin looked back at Trapinch. That's right. Trapinch is counting on you to avenge her loss. You can't faint now, Chase Spin. Izuku shouted. Pinch! Trapinch shouted out in agreement. Cheese! Chase Spin. Chase Spin shook their heads, as they kept struggling to hold on to consciousness. They couldn't let Trapinch down. Not after all the things Bakugo said about her, and about his trainer. He needed to beat this Cyndaquil. Chase Spin. Chase Spin called upon all his strength, to keep standing up. And then suddenly he felt himself taking something in. Chase Spin's body began to glow green, and he could feel his wounds heal. Cheese! Chase Spin, with renewed strength, firmly stood his ground and glared at his opponent. He learned synthesis. Izuku shouted with glee. What? What kind of bullshit is this? Bakugo shouted, gritting his teeth in rage. Flame Wheel. Take this runt down before he can heal. As Cyndaquil rolled up into a ball, so did Chase Spin. But while Cyndaquil was surrounded by flames, Chase Spin's body became a giant boulder. And he learned rollout. Izuku added. The two balls charged into each other. Cyndaquil was much faster, but due to its weakness to rock, it didn't do much when hitting the rock-covered Chase Spin. In fact, each time the two slammed into each other, it did more and more damage to Cyndaquil due to the nature rollout. Damn it! Cyndaquil, stop attacking! Bakugo shouted. But it was too late. As Cyndaquil uncurled to stop its attack, Chase Spin charged into them, knocked them all the way to Bakugo's feet, unconscious. Cyndaquil groaned. Alright, great work Chasebin. Izuku praised Chasebin, as the grass type stopped using rollout. Cheese, Chasebin cheered before looking at Trapinch. Trapinch gave them an approving nod before Izuku returned her to her Pokeball. Gore, what kind of bullshit is this? Bakugo shouted as he returned Cyndaquil to their Pokeball. Your Pokemon is getting their shit kicked in, and then they pull 2 new moves out of their ass. Izuku shook his head. You don't get it, Kakin. The reason Chasebin was able to do that is because of you. You stoked Chespin's flame, ironically enough, and gave them the determination he needed to take you down. Cheese, Chasebin said. Bastard. Bakugo cursed before he took out his last Pokemon. You better not fuck this up, Litten. Litten came out with a hiss. Latine. Their eyes glowed red, and Chasebin felt his strength get reduced by 1 stage. Intimidate. That's not good. Izuku thought. Alright, use synthesis. Chasebin started glowing, as it was about to heal himself, but Bakugo wasn't willing to let this continue. Taunt! Bakugo shouted. Litten raised their paw and signaled for their opponent to attack them. Cheese! Chespin's synthesis was interrupted, as they could no longer use anything but attacking moves. Now use Swagger. Bakugo followed up. 10. Litten turned their head away, looking as pompous as possible. Chasebin? Chespin's attack was raised by 2 stages while also becoming confused. Darn it, this is really bad. Chasebin used Mud Shot. Izuku ordered, hoping that Chasebin could get through the confusion. Chasebin opened his mouth and unleashed a flurry of mud blasts, but since it was confused, none of them were even remotely close to hitting. Now use Lick, Bakugo ordered. Litten shouted as they ran at Chasebin, before licking their face, really hard. Cheese! Chasebin stepped back, as electricity crackled around their body, signifying that they were now paralyzed. Now Fire Fong. Bakugo followed up. Litten's mouth burst into flames, as it lunged forward, and bit into Chasebin. Cheese! Chasebin cried out in pain before he was thrown away. Now Fury Swipes. Bakugo ordered. Litten charged forward, and swiped Chasebin multiple times, before knocking them back further. Chasebin landed at Izuku's feet, knocked out. Chasebin. Izuku looked sadly at his second Pokemon, before returning them to their Pokeball. You did so well, I can't thank you enough. TCH. Send out your next Pokemon Deku. Bakugo shouted. Right? Izuku took out the Pokeball for his last Pokemon. Come on Eevee. Eevee came out, fired up. She had seen everything from her Pokeball, and after seeing Bakugo insult her trainer and her friends she was ready to put him in his place. Bakugo gave his order. Use Swag Dash, Quick Attack. Izuku said before Bakugo could finish. Eevee charged forward covered in white energy and quickly smacked into Litten before it could do anything. Now get back and use Swift, Izuku ordered. Eevee, still using Quick Attack, moved back to get some distance from Litten, and then shot out a group of stars Litten. Cyndaquil was definitely a new Pokemon for him. After all, it couldn't take Chasebin with all those Fire-type moves. And there's no way Bakugo would send out his weakest Pokemon second. Izuku thought. Litten doesn't seem to have any ranged attacks, so let's see how they handle a Swift Barrage. Damn it, use Fury Swipes. Bakugo knew ordering Litten to dodge Swift would be pointless, so he hoped that maybe this would work better. Litten swiped at the stars as they came, destroying 2 of them, but it wasn't fast enough as the rest of the stars pelted into them. Now, keep using Swift, Izuku ordered. Eevee used Rapid Fire Swift, letting loose and a huge amount of stars. Meanwhile, Bakugo was internally panicking. Litten was a sitting duck against Swift, and he needed to do something before they got pelted into unconsciousness. Maybe the environment could help. Litten used Fury Swipes on the ground and kick up a sand wall, Bakugo said. Litten, just as the stars came towards them, Litten swiped the ground, kicking up a wall of sand that blocked the stars, which exploded when they hit the wall. Izuku now had to rethink his methods, while also not giving Bakugo room to breathe. Eevee used Dig. Eevee rapidly dug into the sand, submerging themselves below the arena. Not happening Deku. Bakugo flashed back to their first fight. To be more specific, he recalled how long Eevee stayed under the ground, and waited just until the right time. Now jump! Litten jumped, just in time as Eevee burst out of the ground, missing her opponent. Now use Fire Fong, Bakugo commanded. 10. Litten lunged downwards at Eevee and bit into them with searing hot fangs. Eevee cried out in pain. Eevee shake them off with Quick Attack. Grind them into the sand, Izuku ordered. Eevee became covered in white energy, as she started running around the arena while grinding Litten against the sand. 10. Litten winced as they were roughly pushed against the sand at high speed until they fell off. Eevee ran all the way back to Izuku, where it stood ready to take another order when suddenly she winced in pain as her body glowed red. Darn. Eevee's burned. Izuku knew he had to end this fast before burn did too much damage. Eevee, use dig again. Eevee dug underneath the battlefield once more. What the hell is Deku up to? Bakugo thought as he waited for just the right time to give Litten the command. Litten, jump! Litten jumped right before Eevee came out of the ground, as the normal-type Pokémon burst out from the sand. Now use Swift. On repeat, Izuku ordered. Eevee smirked as she unleashed waves of stars at their opponent, who had nowhere to dodge. Litten could only look wide-eyed at the attack, before over a dozen stars smacked into them, causing an explosion. Eevee landed on the ground, flinching as they took a bit of burn damage, but still smirking as they were assured of their victory. And their victory was proven when Litten fell out of the air on their side, completely unconscious. Fucking damn it! Bakugo cursed loudly, before glaring at Deku, who was waiting to see if Bakugo would throw out another Pokémon. God fucking damn it. Deku, Kakin, are you out of Pokémon? Izuku asked optimistically. Bakugo glared at Izuku. He was out of Pokémon, but he was just completely unable to admit defeat. Izuku realized this, and a look of elation crossed his face. All right, Eevee. Eevee happily jumped back onto Izuku's shoulder and cuddled up to Izuku's neck before giving Bakugo a smug look. You only fucking won because your Pokémon kept learning new moves, Bakugo shouted as he returned Litten to their Pokeball. It wasn't because of any genius strategy. You're only saying that because you're a sore loser, Hachiko mocked him. Eevee said in agreement. Guys, it's okay, Izuku told his partner and traveling companion. Kakin isn't wrong. If Chasebin and Kubfu hadn't learned those moves, I would have lost. But I like to think that my Pokémon were able to do that because of our shared determination. Maybe I'm being a bit presumptuous, but I think we won this battle together. That's the spirit, Deku, Hachiko cheered. Eevee agreed. Bakugo was about to shout, but suddenly, he heard a voice. Actually, I think you'll find that we are the real winners, said a feminine voice coming from somewhere. And you're all losers, said an older male voice. Huh, Izuku said, wondering who that was. To protect the world from devastation, to unite all peoples within our nation, to denounce the evils of truth and love, to extend our reach to the stars above. Suddenly, 3 figures jumped out from behind a nearby rock, landing on top of the rock and posing dramatically. One was a crazed-looking young girl with blonde hair, put up in very messy buns, wearing a white and uniform with an R on it. Another was an older but still young man who also had blonde hair with a scar going down his forehead, wearing the same uniform, but obviously, this one was made for men. And the third figure was a Trico? Himiko, the girl introduced herself. Jean, the man did the same. It's twice. Team Rocket blasts off at the speed of light. Himiko shouted. Surrender now or prepare to fight, Jean said after. Trico, that's right, said the Trico. The 3 members of Team Rocket posed imposingly down upon Bakugo, Izuku, and Hachiko, waiting seemingly for them to respond. Did that Trico just talk? Izuku asked. And now we have the Jesse, James, and Meowth fill-ins. Now Toga and Twice probably don't need explanation here, but if you can't guess, the Trico is supposed to be Spinner. Part 5 is now complete. Be sure to watch the previous parts in the playlist if you haven't already. Don't forget to support the author for their hard work. I'll return soon. Thank you all for your continued support.